ChatGPT, last will and testament. ChatGPT is all over the news right now.
ChatGPT.
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 Can ChatGPT write a last will and testament? ChatGPT is artificial intelligence, generative, pre-trained Transformer 3 GPT. It's a language processing artificial intelligence model developed by OpenAI. Yes, this is a third version, and it's only getting smarter with each version. It is able to create human-like text, essays, songs, poems, novels, and even a last will and testament. All of the news stories talk about all the jobs that will be lost due to artificial intelligence. As a result of this new technology, ChatGPT, a new job is being created called prompt creator. Anyone can tell ChatGPT to write a love poem. However, the better your prompts are, the better that your output is going to be. This is very important. After experimenting with ChatGPT for over a month, I have found this to be absolutely true. The better you put in, the better you're going to get out. Let's head over to the computer and see what kind of a last will and testament can be generated by artificial intelligence and ChatGPT. So let's jump right in. And in case you didn't know where to find ChatGPT, it is at openai.com. At OpenAI, you're also able to find DALL-E, which does the pictures that everybody's been talking about that have been in the news as well. If you're looking for ChatGPT, go to openai.com and you'll be able to find it there. Let's dive in right now and see if ChatGPT can draft a last will and testament. So what I'm going to put in here is draft a last will and testament for a 65-year-old man living in Oklahoma, because that's where we are. He is divorced with 3 children and would like to give each of them 1/3 of the estate. So once I have that in there, I go ahead and click enter and let ChatGPT do it work. So let's see what it comes up with. So pretty good so far. Beginning of what most simple wills will have. Appointment of the executor, distribution of the estate. And it does look like that it is able to give 1/3 to each child. Now, I didn't define who the children were or the executor. Living in Oklahoma, he is divorced with 3 children and would like to give them each 1/3 of his estate. The executor will be Sally Stockmeyer. So now let's see what ChatGPT will do with that information. Now remember, we're building on what we have already in there. So that's the neat thing about ChatGPT. As you can see, it's already rewriting the will with the information that we gave it, is that if you don't like the first input, you can start to enter more inputs to define it, make it either more broad or define it a little bit better. And so here it goes, basically the same last will and testament that we had last time, but as you can see there at the top, it is now said that this last will and testament belongs to Enrique Sanchez. So I, Enrique Sanchez, being of sound mind and body, do hereby declare this to be my last will and testament. And then it appoints Sally Stockmeyer as the executor of the will. Now, if you notice, I still have not defined the children. So maybe that's what we do next, is we define the names of child 1, child 2, and child 3. So let's go in and add the children's names now. So I'm going to type in the children's names are Enrique Sanchez Jr., right? Tommy Sanchez and Monica Sanchez. And let's see what now ChatGPT will output now that we have put in the person, Enrique Sanchez. We have named an executor, Sally Stockmeyer, and now we have actually named the 3 children. And yeah, as you can see, it's doing a really good job. It is basically just inputting those undefined names that we did not have when we very first started. So I think what we need to do now is maybe tweak it a little bit so that it fits for Enrique. Now, again, this is just for educational purposes only. It's up to you whether you want to use this or not. As always, I would probably still recommend an attorney to do your last will and testament to make sure it's done according to the law in your state. But let's look at what it did. It did add Sally Stockmeyer. It added the 3 children's names in equal shares to be distributed in accordance with the terms of this will. Still has that no contest. So basically, it still has all the same information from the beginning. All it's done is inputted what we asked it to that was missing from the very beginning. So this is a good start. One of the things that I can see as an estate planning attorney is there's not really a clear attestation clause, and that is basically usually a second clause at the end of a last will and testament signed by the witnesses and the person executing the last will and testament, that they all swear that their signatures are actually theirs. They're attesting to their own signatures. And this is really important. And if you don't have that, it's also called like a self-proving clause. And if you don't have that, then a lot of times what you have to do is you have to have the witnesses actually appear in court because they have not self-proved their own signatures. So that's a very, very important thing to have in a last will and testament. And a lot of times people who try to do this on their own or try to get it off the internet, like ChatGPT, don't include something like that. Another thing that I don't see in here is executor powers. So let's tell ChatGPT to add an attestation clause and executor powers, add powers for the personal representative. So let's see what it can do now. So far, so good. It looks like it's basically copying or re-outputting the same information that it did before. Notice there that it has in there for an alternate executor, which we did not name. We could name that. Either have ChatGPT do that or copy and paste this into a Word document and then add it there. Still no contest clause. That's good. Governing law, Oklahoma, in witness whereof I have under. So still going there. See if it can get that self-proving attestation clause in there. There it is. Attestation clause. We, the undersigned, do hereby certify that the testator Enrique signed this will in our presence, and he declared it to us that this his instrument was his last will and testament, and that at his request and his presence, in the presence of each other, we sign this as witnesses. That's a pretty good, I would probably tighten it up a little bit if I were the one doing it, but it's a good start. The problem is that you can see that it still did not add additional signature lines. So like I said before, if you're doing a last will and testament, you usually you sign the person executing it signs it, the witnesses sign it, and then they have that self-proving attestation clause again, or they all sign it again, proving that the last will and testament is a self-proving document. Very important for a last will and testament. ChatGPT just really didn't know where to put it, so it just put it there, and then it added the executor powers under Oklahoma law. Not bad powers, basic powers, but again, it put it at the end instead of actually in the body of the document itself. So that's a problem, but something that could probably be fixed. Like I said, if you copy and paste this into a Word document, and then you could just move the paragraphs around. But having the executor powers that are after the signature line is probably not going to do you any good. Let's try to clean this up a little bit. I'm going to put the attestation clause and the executor powers under Oklahoma law in the body of the last will, and let's see what it does. I probably should have defined a little bit better where the attestation clause, but let's see what ChatGPT can do. I still haven't named an alternative executor, and ChatGPT is remembering that and just putting in a placeholder for that. So again, this is something that once you put it into a Word document, you could probably fix that. Not probably, you can fix that there. Okay, so there's the attestation clause. I put it as number 6 and number 7, and it's not as defined as the previous attestation clause that it had actually drafted. So it actually made it smaller this time. Let's see what it's doing for the signature lines. ChatGPT did not get the attestation clause exactly where we wanted it to be, but let's go ahead and just move on, because I just kind of want to give a brief display of what ChatGPT can do and whether or not it's a good choice for you if you're trying to do your own last will and testament. Let's further define here that Enrique only wants to leave his estate to 2 of his children and not the 3rd child, and see what ChatGPT can do. So this is actually when you're disinheriting, as you've heard me say in other videos, the way that you disinherit a child is extremely important. It has to actually be in language. You have to use specific language to disinherit somebody. And if you don't, in most states, that child can be considered a pretermitted heir. And that means that they would have receive because you didn't do it correctly, they would receive their share that they would have as if you had no last will and testament at all. Let's look at what ChatGPT is outputting right now, and it looks pretty good so far. Again, it's not really making any changes except for what we asked it to do this last time. And so it says there, distribution of the estate, I give, devise, and bequeath all of my property, both real and personal, of whatsoever nature and wherever located, to my 2 children, Enrique Jr. and Tommy Sanchez, in equal shares, to be distributed in accordance with the terms of this will. I intentionally omit Monica Sanchez from receiving any portion of my estate. So not bad. We actually didn't tell ChatGPT which two children we wanted to disinherit. I think if we go back and look at the prompt I put it in, it says we want to disinherit the third. And since I had Monica listed as the third child, it disinherited her. So overall, it did a pretty good job of that. I like the disinheritance language. I would have probably tightened it up a little bit more and been a little bit more specific in how I wanted to disinherit. So let's have a little bit more fun. Let's put in the 3 children are all minor children. Please write, let's please add specific provisions for administering their shares until they reach the age of 18, yeah. Let's say until they reach the age of 18. ChatGPT goes right to work, rewriting the document that we already had. And like I said before, it builds on what it already has. So as you keep defining, it'll keep changing the document to what you're asking it to do. As you make things broader or tighter, it will make those changes. And there it goes. Number 4, trust for minor children. The share of my estate bequeathed to each of my minor children shall be held in trust until they reach the age of 18 years old. The executor shall use the income and principal of the trust for the benefit of each minor child as necessary for their health, education, and support until the age of 18. At that time, the executor shall distribute the remainder of the trust to the child. Guys, this is this is actually amazing. In there, it says health, education, and support. And that is actually an IRS term, and it missed one of them. It's called HEMS, H-E-M-S, for health, education, maintenance, and support. ChatGPT almost hit it on the head there with putting in a trust is to be created and it should be used for the kids for those purposes. I think that is fantastic. It actually went back, and because we said there's 3 minor children, it went back and it put Monica back into the mix for her to get some of the money. And it created this trust for minor children. Great job. It's not something that I would do, but it's a great starting place, I guess, for somebody who is trying to do this on their own. ChatGPT actually did an okay job. It's probably only a page, maybe a page and a half. It still did not really include executor clauses, like the powers that an executor should have under Oklahoma law. It really didn't fix the attestation clause, a self-proving clause that really needs to be, that's super important if you're having your last will and testament, and it does not have that correct. And there's some other things in there, payment of debts. A lot of attorneys go back and forth on the argument whether to, how broad to make that kind of language in there. And it's very important because if it's done wrong, it can mean that creditors will have a more easy chance of getting to estate assets. So there's a lot in here that I would probably want as an estate planning attorney, and I probably cannot recommend it, but I don't know. What do you guys think? So who wins between ChatGPT generated last will and testament and an attorney drafted last will and testament? Well, that's up to you. Like I said earlier, the more good you put into it, the more good you're going to get out of it. But if you don't know what you're doing to put in, then you're going to get out garbage. The output is not going to be what you want. You probably won't get a last will and testament that is going to do what you wanted it to do. And you may not get one that's going to hold up in a court of law. This is a last will and testament that I created for a sample pretend client called Tommy Sample. And it is over 24 pages long compared to the 1-page last will and testament that was generated by ChatGPT. Now, I can't criticize that it's 1 page, that a 1-page last will and testament, because I have seen some very, very well written last will and testaments that were only 1 page long and did exactly what the deceased person wanted to happen. And we were actually able to easily probate their estate because they did put very specific language for a very specific situation, and it worked. But I'm going to tell you that in maybe 95 to 90% of the time, it's not going to work. That 1-page last will and testament was actually written by a law firm, and it was done very well. So that's the reason it worked in that situation. But in this last will and testament that I did for Tommy Sample, just some of the things that were included in the ChatGPT version are things like a remote beneficiary. If for whatever reason all of the people that are gone and there's nobody to give the estate to, then who ultimately receives everything? That's very important to have in this. Think of it as a plane going down with the entire family. Who gets your estate if everybody dies with you? ChatGPT did include an executor because I told it to, but one of the things that I forgot to include was a guardian for the minor children. We did talk about the fact that there were 3 children, and I did not put in there who Enrique wanted to be the guardian for his 3 minor children. We did talk about creating a trust if these 3 children, any of them, were under the age of 18 years old, but we did not talk about who their guardian is to take care of them on a day-to-day basis. That was missing. And again, it was an input that I did not put in, so I can't completely blame ChatGPT for that. But it's something that would have been on our checklist when we're creating this, whether or not we needed to have a guardian for the minor children. ChatGPT did not include general administrative provisions either. There wasn't really anything about whether there is a bond would be required on the part of the executor. Nothing about employment provisions for professionals in administering the estate, nothing for distributions to people who are incapacitated, not just because they're under the age of 18, but what if they are incapacitated because they were in a car accident? Maybe they're receiving Social Security, SSI benefits, or some other type of government type benefit. An inheritance might ruin or even mess up their government benefits, so that has to be planned for very carefully. Also, didn't talk about specifically the powers that are generally needed for an executor, like investment powers, banking powers, contract powers, farm, ranch, and agricultural powers, litigation and settlement powers. What if they were in an accident and now the estate needs to sue? I could go on and on. We specifically list 22 to 30 different powers in our last will and testament that executor needs. My last will and testament also has a very long section on the provisions for the payment of taxes. Bottom line is there is a lot in a last will and testament drafted by an attorney that is not in the ChatGPT last will and testament. But again, it all depends on the inputs. If you're going to spend your time getting all the inputs into ChatGPT correctly, then you might come out with a pretty good last will and testament completely generated by artificial intelligence. What do I think? Is ChatGPT going to displace or get rid of attorney jobs? Well, I don't know, maybe 50, 100 years in that amount of time, it may do that for a lot of jobs. But like I said earlier, this version of ChatGPT is already on the 3rd version, and each version is getting better and better. But it still depends on what the inputs are. I can't stress that enough, that if you don't know what to ask ChatGPT to do, then it's not going to know what to do. Maybe instead of replacing attorneys, it is going to redefine the job of an attorney in how well an attorney can define the inputs to put into ChatGPT so that they get a last will and testament ready for the client to sign in a quicker and more efficient manner. Instead of an attorney taking 2 to 3 days to draft a last will and testament, maybe technology like this will enable them to create a last will and testament ready for a client's signature within an hour at their very first meeting. I absolutely love technology and seeing what it can do to make our lives better. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Right now, I'm extremely hesitant to recommend that people use online services or copying a last will and testament from a friend and trying to make it your own. That's just my general advice. Really, it goes back to the same reasons that I think ChatGPT is not ready to replace attorneys in drafting a last will and testament at this time. When we see people go online, they don't know what kind of clauses they need to have in their last will and testament or their specific situation. People do not correctly disinherit children and other relatives in their document. They do not sign it correctly. They don't know what their state law is. They do not have correct self-proving clauses for themselves and for the witnesses. That alone may get a last will and testament kicked out. I could go on and on again with the mistakes that people make in trying to draft their own DIY last will and testaments. For all of these reasons, I think they also apply to ChatGPT. If you don't know what to ask for, it's not going to give you a good document. It's not going to give you a good last will and testament. As always, this video was for educational purposes only, and if you're thinking about getting a last will and testament or a trust, or you're thinking about your estate plan, I urge you to educate yourself. That's why I create these videos, for educational purposes. Read books, go online, educate yourself, watch videos like ours and other estate planning attorneys and probate attorneys, and maybe book an appointment with an attorney in your jurisdiction. Most attorneys will not charge for an initial consultation, and even if they do, I truly believe that hour of time that you spend with them will at least give you your options on what you need to do to have a good estate plan plan in place and what you need to do to make certain that it is done correctly and it does what you want it to do. I know I've thrown a lot at you today, so that's why we've prepared our free guide on estate planning. I'll put a link to it in the description below and in the comment section below that so that you can download it and get started in the right direction. And to help you out even more, watch this video up here and this video up here. If you enjoyed this video, then guys, please smash that subscribe button and click on the like button. And also click on that little bell so you'll get notified every time we post a new video. Have a great day and an awesome week. And as always, thanks for watching.